What's up, y'all? So listen, if you are in a band or a musician or just somebody who wants to sound good live, this is the video for you. I want you to listen very closely to all the tips and tricks that are coming right up. And if you listen, I bet you'll be able to work better with a sound engineer and you'll be able to achieve a better sound on stage. This video's for you. It'll help you. I sat down this weekend with two of the best sound engineers on the East Coast, Matt Kester and my buddy Jeremy. They're from Matt Kester Productions. These guys do everything from big stadiums to small club shows. And they can get you sound that you never thought was possible. If you listen to them, take these tips to heart. Drop a comment down below, drop a like on this video, share it with your friends that are in bands. Basics. From a sound engineer's perspective, what is the primary goal of a sound check? And what is the biggest waste of time that you see that bands take while they're getting ready to play a show?
Well, the biggest thing, did you introduce Jeremy Coro?
I did, twice.
The biggest thing is that people think that the sound guy is what makes it sound good or bad. It's not 100% true. It's a 50-50 thing. Sometimes if the sound guy's not as good, the band makes up a little bit of that percentage. Sometimes if the band's not as good, the sound guy could do some things to make up that. But it's like, I think that people don't understand that this, especially in okay, we're in the V-Spot bar today, right? And it's a smaller room. It's really not like you're not engineering anything. It's sound reinforcement. So really, we're not trying to add anything to the mix. We're just trying to take out, you see what I'm doing here? I'm making a figure eight. We're just trying to take out the unwanted noises to try and clean it up, to get to some kind of middle ground, because you're not going to be able to engineer anything in a smaller room. It's just not going to happen. So when you're doing sound check, and your question was how to not waste time, basically, right?
Yeah.
So the idea, waste time, most effective. Most of the time you get 10 minutes to do it. So it's not like you're going to mix the band in that 10 minutes either. You're going to just get in there, try and get like a good level in there, something clean, preset your gain structure, and then it's like off to the races, right? Because the band's going to start. Especially when you're doing something like you're doing this weekend, where there's 7 bands and you have 10-minute changeovers or something. There's no engineering that goes on here. Sorry, Richie. I know that that's probably hurting your feelings, but we're not engineering. We're damage control at that point. So we're just trying to remove crap so that the more natural sound can come through. Because as I said about it being sound reinforcement, that's literally what it is. You're trying to find that band's natural sound as full as it could possibly be and reinforce it out to the people. Maybe some of that noise is coming from the stage, right? Maybe the bass amp is ridiculously loud, or maybe the guitar is only on 2 like they all tell you, but it never sounds like it's on 2. It's always on 11. Every guitar player, you guitar player? Yeah, you turn up to 11. I already know. But if you're gonna tell me it's on 2, I get it, right? I get it. You want that tone. I get everything.
My singing voice is a bit louder.
His singing voice, yeah, that's 12. I know. But we're here to reinforce it. We're not making it sound anything. So during sound check, we're just trying to get a level. So I think the biggest thing to help that not go off the rails, like every speech I've ever given, is pay attention, right? Like, get your shit set up. Can I curse?
Yeah.
Get your shit set up, and then pay attention to the sound person. Whether you hate or love them, they love you. So.
Sure. And one other thing, during that time, a lot of times during the sound check, I'm not even worried about the main PAs. I'll be on the stage with you. I'm trying to get your monitor set, because that's what you're going to listen to for the next 2.5, 3 hours that you're up here. I'm not hearing that anymore. I'm out there. And so that's typically what I try to do during sound check, is just make sure your monitors are fine, you're not feeding back, your levels are fine, and then once I walk off the stage, I don't have to come back up here.
One time Jeremy mixed Front of House for Breaking Ben, and he forgot to start the intro track. It's a true story. Is it?
It is.
It's a true story.
So what is the most effective way for a musician while they're on stage to communicate a problem or need to you guys as the front of house engineers?
Learn the stage sign language. Jeremy, demonstrate. I want more vocal.
sometimes they'll just point to their mouth and point up.
That's it.
And that's pretty common.
That's it.
I've even had people like song ends and they just go, "Can I get some more vocal on my monitor?" And
I hate that one.
they say it, and I'm yeah, not a problem.
But I hate it.
Yeah,
So professional.
Need more stereo headphones.
Always worth it.
Always more stereo headphones. So stage volume is the classic battle.
Well, that's what I want to talk about the
You
most.
touched on it a little bit. Can you explain why controlling stage volume is so crucial for good front of house mixes, and what bands can do to help you manage that better?
Go ahead, Jeremy. I'll give you a shot.
So I'm kind of terrible at that because I think I'm just seasoned in doing this. And when someone has their guitar up too loud,
They're old.
and I ask them like, "Could you turn this down?" And then they don't turn it down. I just won't say anything anymore, and I'll take the guitar pretty much out of the mix, and I'll just mix my stage to that guitar amp or whatever is loud. I just let it come off the stage and then kind of mix the rest of the stuff in with it.
And that's an example of what not to do.
Yeah.
Jeremy needs to develop his people skills a little better and work with. So as I was talking before about guitars being too loud, we know it's always drums. We know. Everybody knows it's always drums. Vinny Archer just walked through the door like hero. Do you want to talk about your concert now while we're in the middle of this? Okay, well wait. Okay. So the way most of these rock, pop, even heavy bands, all that stuff. Well, not even heavy bands. Heavy bands are a little different, but most bands, it's even when you listen to recordings and stuff, you hear in order. It's like vocals, drums, everything else. That's usually how it goes, right? Then the lead part comes up over the drums, sometimes even in equal with the vocals. That's usually how most of these bands are mixed. So it's like vocals, drums, everything else. So when you're in a place like this, in a smaller venue, and you have a loud drummer per se, we're just going to use drummers. I hate drummers. They're the worst people in the world. I wish they would all die. Everybody's giggling because I'm the drummer, right? In that way. When the drums are loud, right? The problem with drums is that they cover every frequency range, right? They cover everything. All the way from kick drum at 40 to the cymbals, sometimes at frequencies we can't even hear. So they cover the entire spectrum. And that's the problem, right? So you can't go and notch out things from drums because there's another piece of drum that's going to come and fill that in. And most of the time, our vocals are, somewhere in like, I don't know, it depends on the vocalist, but maybe like the 250 on the low end, 250 hertz on the low end to maybe like 8K on the high ends, where like the meat of the vocal is. And depending on the person, it could be a little higher or lower in there. So like to make those drums sound clear, you have all of that, overlapping noise. And because the drums are loud, in order for you to get this microphone structured, the gain structured properly, you have to have like a decent amount of it. And you're not gonna be able to get, when your drums are literally right behind you, you're not gonna be able to get that noise out, right? It's impossible. But it's hard to look back at the drummer and say, play quieter. Drums aren't meant to be quiet. They're meant to be a loud instrument. You know what I mean? There's not much you can do about it. Again, I hate every drummer, but it's like you have a choice now. You have two choices really. You can just mix the band as quiet as you can, and then I know most of these singers and girlfriends are gonna come up to you and be like, I can't hear my boyfriend singing, like I know how it goes. They've been doing this so long, and I get it. So you can mix it as quiet as you can, where the drums are gonna be maxed or louder than your vocals and your guitars and stuff. Or you can get that vocal and those lead instruments up over the top of the drums, which is what I like. Richie does it, Jeremy does it. I don't know if Stevie does that yet, but do you try to do that? You get a good mix in there, but when the band's loud, it's a little tougher. Justin, I don't know if Justin's thing is he's just a metal guy, so he likes to just push it, and I that's how I mix. I'm gonna, because what happens is bartenders are always gonna complain. There's no bartenders here right now, are there? I love bartenders so much. Hey, well, anyways, you know what I'm talking about. Bartenders are always gonna complain because they're trying to do their job, right? They're trying to do their job. But if you make something loud but it sounds good, people aren't gonna complain that often. It could be quiet and sound like shit, and they're gonna tell you it's too loud. But it's just because they don't know. They don't know that it sounds good or sounds bad. They just know it's bothering their ears. So, you know, your choices are two. Mix it quiet as you can. It's not gonna sound good. Mix the lead instruments over top of the drums. You know, but then what I can hear. Boop, 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 boop,
Trying to find it.
it's like 1 point something, I think. But what happens is, you know, you have to then have your vocalist meet you somewhere in the middle. So this is my last point that I wanted to really touch home on, and then you can go back to your questions. Your vocalist has to be, this is why I wanted to clean the mics, because I wanted to tell you that you hear me talking, sounds pretty good, right? I mean, I have the really good voice, you know, but like it sounds pretty good. But once I get up here, you know what I mean? Like you're hearing frequencies that you're definitely not hearing here. And I'm only 2 inches off the mic. So like you can project your you know, but when you're you know what I mean? There's like a huge difference. So like you don't see it on big stages because you don't have to, but I mean, this is $100 for a microphone. It's the industry standard vocal mic. It's a great mic. I mean, these have probably fallen on this floor 300 times. There's a big national act still using them. But then you got other artists that are using like $500, $600, $700, $800 condenser type mics or something like that, or some kind of cordial or something. And those are for when you have singers that are doing more dynamic type things. But if you're a rock band and that rock singers has their mouth on that microphone, I'm not talking any different. Like, you know what I mean? You could hear the difference in and out. So like if you have a loud band, loud drummer, your singer needs to do you the favor of putting their lips on their mic. I mean, it's just a huge difference. And all I'm doing is backing away, and I'm not actually changing the sound of my voice. And there's a huge difference from that. And on further, as soon as you do this, you cook this thing, get off my stage. Like, I know it looks cooler. I know. It's cool as shit. Eminem knows to do. Eminem does it. But like, when you cook this thing, you could find diagrams of the frequency changes online. Like I could share it with everybody. Like it actually changes the frequency pattern of the microphone to spike like these, like, I want to call them honky. That's my dad would always, growing up, my dad was a sound man, would always say, so it's a little honky, you know, so like it's like a honky frequency, you know what I mean? Like you could hear the difference. So like when you have these singers that do this, it's gonna ruin your mix, because now you're gonna start notching things. And then he's gonna go back, my singer, I play number slow, I don't know if you guys know, but my singer Rick, he does it, and I'll yell from behind the drums like, stop it! You know, like, because he can't help himself. But he thinks it looks cool, like, yo, what's up, you know? It does. But it does look cool. I don't care. Like, you want to sound good, that's the most important thing. So if you keep your lips on the mic, especially if you're a louder band, you know, if you're a softer band, you're playing like cool music or whatever, you know, smooth jazz band, you're right, they're good. You know, you could be more dynamic with it, but when you're in a rock pop band, you gotta do rock pop things, you know. All right, I'm done.
What are the most common Jeremy? Well, what are the most common technical problems that you guys encounter with bands? Is it gear, cables, amps, pedals? I want to play this track off my aux cord from my phone. And what can people do to prevent them and help you out?
Definitely cables. That's proud 90% of the problem every time when something's not working is just that the case. Yeah, I know. I realized I was doing that. Just the whatever quarter-inch cable going from one pedal to the next pedal. For some reason, it worked last show. I know it worked last show, but it doesn't work now. And as soon as they pull that out and they bypass the pedal, replace the cable, everything works. So it's rare to see an amp not fire back up or anything like that, but it's 90% of the time I would say cable, so just swap the cable out. And the other thing, I know Matt's really big on this, is that when something isn't working, turn it off and turn it back on.
Yeah.
That fixes a lot of the problems.
Watch the show of the IT Crowd. You ever see it on Netflix? Best show ever, right? Have you turned it off and back on again? Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, that's the two biggest things that I've encountered.
Yeah, it's always a cable. It's like always a cable. So, you know, the other thing too is, and I know that there's nobody in this room that does this, but if you show up to a gig and you bring your, you know, somebody says, hey, there's backline there. Backline means, It means something different to everybody, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But backline means there's the bones. You know, we brought the bones for you. So if you're a guitar player, bring a guitar cable, please. That's, you know, or two. You know, it's your responsibility to get to the PA. The PA starts at the microphone or the DI box. So that's just a little tidbit of help for you guys. PA starts there.
The power supply.
I have gum in my pocket.
Can you guys share a story about a band, and you don't have to name them, that was exceptionally easy and professional to work with? And why did they make your job easier? And in turn, did that make their show sound better? And then we could also do the flip side of the coin, where they sucked.
So I'm not gonna call out any bands. I'm gonna give you an example of a band. The band that is all on in-ears, that has their own onstage console, that has their own split snake. Okay, hardcore bands that we have to rip our whole stage apart to plug all of our, like, so there's two types of split. I'm really looking at Justin when I say hardcore bands. There's two types of split setups. There's one where bands got a console on stage. They roll in with their own mics and cables and stands. They have a split snake after their console, and they give you a whip. So that's self-contained. Don't let anyone fool you. That's self-contained. Self-contained means that band rolls in with what they need to be on stage. They're giving you the connection after. There's another type of band that claims to be self-contained, but it's a pain in the butt. It's the band that has their console, their splitters, but no snake or nothing. Sometimes they have a split snake, but you have to run all the lines to their rack. So now, you're doing 7 bands tonight. This band comes in, tells you they're self-contained. I have all the lines plugged into the wall here. They're like, oh, we gotta get them to our rack so we can hear. Now, I have to repatch the whole entire stage back to their rack, so then they can give me a whip back to mine. That's not self-contained. That's a pain in the ass. But it's easy to mix. It's easy to mix any band on in-ears because there's a lower stage volume. Well, not on in-ears. There's an easy. So some of the in-ear bands still using amps and all that kind of stuff. But that's the kind of setup that it's if you're having that kind of setup and you're doing like touring type stuff and you're on shows where like you're gonna get a sound check in the afternoon and they're gonna wire your band up and you're wired for the night. Fine, that's cool, fine, no problem. When you're playing like local type shows and stuff and you have that kind of setup, that ruins everybody's day. I hate you, those bands. If you're in here, leave. No, I'm just kidding. But if you're gonna be self-contained, be self-contained. So now there's still two types of bands out there that one's on in-ears. Now I'll get away from those categories. And one's on in-ears and one's still on wedges. I don't care if you're on wedges. I don't care. But don't, whoever's gonna be working the show, they want you to be happy. Like I don't know if they know any sound guys are like, I want them to hate their life. You know what I mean? Like it's stupid because if you're miserable, they're miserable. But like I feel like if you want your sound to be a certain kind of way, you work with whoever's your sound person to get there. If you don't like the way things have been going, you've been playing the same place, whatever, hire your own sound person. Like, if you want to sound a certain kind of way all the time, make that sound person part of your team. You know what I mean? Like that's the band I'm in. That's what we do. So we hired our own sound person. He's part of the band. We pay him the same as everybody else. Oh no, I just divulged information that probably everybody didn't need to know.
His name's Matt Kester.
No, his name's Ryan. Ryan Shooter. Shout out Ryan Shooter. Love that guy. Yeah, we brought him in and just made him part of the team because it's important to sound good to us. Like it's really important, especially we're old people now. So like it's harder to even get to the job. Like playing for 3-4 hours, like everything hurts. But yeah, like we made a part of the team. So if you have a certain sound, you don't rely on some stranger that you've met a couple times to make you sound the way you want to. And don't send your girlfriend over to be like, okay, turn it up a little bit, make it, you know what I mean? Like have somebody with you that's like your tech person to do that.
Trouble.
Yeah, because Richie gets real upset. Like if you send somebody over to give Richie compliments, he calls me. He does not like to be complimented. So, go ahead, Joe. I'm off the rails again.
How can a band prepare a good tech rider for you? How important is a tech rider?
Well, is there anybody in this room that needs a tech rider right now? Like, is anybody playing shows where they would need to have a tech rider for besides Traverse the Abyss?
Well, I was gonna, if I finished, I would have said, or just a simple stage plot that lets you know what to be prepared for when they come in.
Well, keeping it basic is important. Do not put what you want in your dressing room on there. don't care. But being simple with it, like have your plot, have it basic. Tell us where you want your power to be put, where your how many inputs are on each thing. So like normally it needs to be 1 page at this level, right? 1 page. There's plot above it, underneath it, your channels and what they are, and then how many monitor outputs you need. So say if you're self-contained on ears, cool, put that. If you need 5 wedges, put 5 wedges. And then on your plot, make sure it just says like monitor 1, monitor 2, monitor 3, monitor 4, monitor 5. I could, if Joe gave me an email of everybody that registered for this, I could send you an example of a really good stage plot.
I could do that. Definitely.
But yeah, it needs to be basic to the point, 1 page, because you're probably right now on shows that there's multiple bands on, and you might be walking up to a sound and handing it to him. He's not going to be able to, you know what I mean? Like it's just going to be 1 page. Everything's on this 1 page. He's going to patch it, throw the list in, you know, then you try and find it. So you see like for.
I mean, if someone is on the professional level and doing that, a lot of times when we end up at shows, you gave the stage plot or whatever to the promoter, their promoter rep, or whoever, and I mean, it's like 100% of the time that person's not even at the show.
Yeah.
They emailed something over to us. We wire the stage, get everything ready, and then the band shows up and they go, "Oh, that's from last year. We don't even have that guy in the band. We don't have this."
Yeah.
So I mean,
It
that
happens all the time.
it happens all the time, and it's
and it happens in situations where like I have to go out and rent something. I have to go rent something for something on their plot rider that the agent was like, "That's the accurate plot rider," and then the band gets to, "Oh no, that dude hasn't been with us for 8 months." Like, so you know, I think reaching out ahead of time, like somebody from your tech team reaching out with whoever is a huge thing. And don't wait for someone to reach out to you, because whoever the venue you're playing has 350 bands going through there. Like, you know, you could either have lost the shuffle or they didn't have the time or whatever it was, or especially if you're in an opening band or something, nobody's gonna. But if you reach out, you're an opening band or something, and you reach out to whoever the engineer is or tech team or whatever, that makes a huge difference. You know, you're gonna get treated a little bit differently, a little better than some of the other bands.
And then I think the way to kick it into, I know Matt had a lot that I wanted to get through some questions, but you had a lot of other points you wanted to hit. So my last question was just like, what is your like ultimate advice to musicians that are at the level that would be in this room for sound input on stage, and the best piece of advice you could give them? And I think that could capture anything that we missed here.
Yeah. I know what I want to say. So
okay.
You say your.
So the first thing when we do sound check, I go through and I make sure that I have all my mics are working, and I have something on every line that it's coming through. And then what I like to do, and I think it's pretty standard, is we'll start with the kick drum. I'll go, okay, hit the kick, and just nice simple beat. And then I'll look at the first person. Do you want that in your monitor? Yes, no. And then pretty soon it's like everybody's on stage where it kick, snare, and everybody's just there like up until they hear it. And
that's a good point. Like that's what I was saying about paying attention. Like when you start the kick, just because you play guitar, don't not pay attention, because you might want to kick drum in your monitor. That's the time to get it, not later, because then it's gonna be a cluster. So as he's going through each channel, that's when you're paying attention. You know, just hold your finger up, and then you know when you got enough, that's it. And then, you know, if you want something down, same thing. So like as he's going through each channel, just hold your finger in the air, and then that way that speeds the whole process up.
Yeah. And the only other thing, the part that's bad is when I start doing that and somebody will turn, and I won't do this to you, I'm not that person, but I know you will. I will. They'll say, "Oh, I just need a little bit of everything." And if you want it, okay, you're getting the floor tom, you're getting the hi-hat, you're getting the crash cymbals, and your mix will sound awful. I won't do that, but I know people that have done that in the past to prove a point. And so try not to just say, "Give me a little bit of everything." Try to maybe during your
vocals,
practices, like
maybe the vocals, the guitars, and a little bit of keyboard. You know what I mean?
Like just figure out what you want to hear. What are you listening to? If you're the guitar player, are you going off of the bass player? Are you following the drummer? So just kind of figure that out in practice before you come out, and then you know, like, oh, okay, I want guitar, vocal, and snare drum. That's what I need to hear in my mix, because that's what I'm following. So that's my bit of advice.
Just good advice, Jeremy. Very good.
Or turn my monitor up.
Turn my monitor off. That's not good.
What do you do?
Yeah. And I hate, and I think part of my biggest pet peeve is when, a band goes a whole set, and they play the whole set, and then they, on the break, they're either come to you complaining or bitch to somebody else. My fucking monitor sounds like shit. I was like, how is it helping anybody? It doesn't help anybody. You're not telling us what you need, what you don't need, whatever. You're not trying to work it out during the thing. Like when you see the sound guy come up, right? Like I do it, Richie does, Jeremy, I teach everybody to do it. Like especially in situations where it's only one person. When the sound guy comes up, he's not coming up for him. He's gonna hear better, or she, Stevie, he's gonna hear better in the back of the room. He's coming up to see if you need anything, but he's not gonna wave his arms and be like, it's like, if you see them and you make eye contact with them, they're standing there, that's them, how like when your girlfriend is not saying something, but, she's saying something, and you have to like figure out what it is. That's them giving you that olive branch. Like, I'm here to make sure that you can hear. Do you need something? But also still trying to make it look like a show's happening and we're not in band rehearsal, So, but back to my point, I want to do questions from them, but I want to say a couple more things. Back to my point, good.
Got plenty of time, actually. We're on early.
Oh, good. We covered a lot of stuff for 30 minutes. So, going back to sound reinforcement, right? Like, it's really important that you know what you want yourself to sound like. It's really important. So, if you don't have the sound that you want, there's no way you're going to get it up there, right? Whether you play drums, guitar, whatever, like, you're not going to get, nobody's going to give you that. Like, there's no way to give you that. I mean, maybe there's some cleaning up we can do. Like now, like we're using fancy, consoles and there's plugins and there's all this kind of stuff. But like, if you don't have this, if your instrument or your setup, whatever it is, doesn't sound like you are like, oh, I love the way it sounds, you're never going to get it out there. You know what I mean? That's really important. But another part of, there's another layer to it. We're touching on about Jeremy saying like everything going in the monitors. Speakers can only do so much, right? When you put a lot of the same frequencies into, let's say, a small, big speaker, it doesn't matter. When you put a lot of the same frequency into the same space, so say your singer's singing at a certain range and your guitar player's playing in that same range, and you got the keyboards playing in that same range, it's going to sound like mud. And there's not going to be much you can do to clean it up except remove some of that stuff, right? So like a lot of times what we do in smaller places like this is, and if there's guitar players in here, because I do it to them the most, they're going to be mad. We have to make space, right? So like say your vocalist is like a kind of a high bid sounding person, and your rhythm guitar parts and stuff, I'm not talking about leads now, I'm just talking about like the rhythm type parts in the song, are playing in those same chord ranges and the tone of the guitar is in that same spot. If I put them both up, it's not going to sound clear. The vocals aren't going to be clear. You're going to have trouble making out what they're saying. So a lot of times what we do is we remove some of the frequencies from the guitar in that vocal range and then boost some of the frequencies in the mid and lower ranges and kind of move the sound of the guitar over just a little bit. Now, that's not something we should have to do. That's something your band should have figured it out. But people don't know. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know. I'm not like faulting you for it. I'm not like mad at you or anything. But that's what I mean by getting a good sound. A good sound is like you're going to sit there with each other, record some stuff and listen back to it, right? Does it sound clean? Does it sound like, it could be recorded that way, right? Because probably if you went in the studio with that same song, you would change the tone of your guitar to something maybe a little bit lower so that the vocals have space to perform it, right? That's probably the most important part. And I know that maybe some of the bands you hear are in and all that kind of stuff. I mean, most people that come out to see bands want to hear the singer. That's what they want to hear. They want to hear the singer. They want to hear what they're saying. Now, if it's original music, if they know your band, they want to sing along. But if it's not, if it's cover type music or whatever, they want to sing along. But everybody wants to hear what the singer's singing. They want to hear what your, articulation of the words is and stuff. So you're kind of your goal, and especially like mid-sized venues, even some of the bigger venues, like even now, like we were down at Franklin Hall in Philly and stuff, like even some of those venues, because you have huge PAs, even though it's a big room, it's still got the same frequency issues as maybe this room does, because you're just pushing more sound into a bouncy room. So you're still trying to make those same spaces, and that's kind of the most important thing. Is like mix your PA. Like you're like, well, you go to yourself, what should I do with my front of house EQ? Okay, well, that's easy. You mix that front of house EQ in a medium, small size venue around that vocal. You do that around that vocal. So you get that vocal sounding clear, and then everything's gonna come fill that back in afterwards. You know what I mean? Like that's the most important thing. If you get that vocal clear and not harsh, not biting, not hurting, but people can hear it, you're not gonna really screw anything else up. Even if you left everything else flat and just turned it up a little bit, you still have a pretty good sound, right? Because if you put the right mics on things, that's another kind of good point. Microphones and speakers already have equalization in them. Like people think like you should not have to do a ton of equalization to every single channel in every single mix in every single room you're in. You shouldn't. If you're using the right source materials, you don't have to go that crazy with it. Now we don't always have that luxury, right? You get a box of, beat up Sures, even though things change sound after time after using them for so long. But you get a box of that. Maybe you have some budget drum mics because we don't turn drum mics up but. If you have any kind of control over that and you put the right mic on the right instrument, you don't have to do that much after that, except make sure that it's in that mix where you want it. Maybe the person's not super dynamic, or maybe they're too dynamic and you have to we get into the finer points of sound, like put some compression and this, that, and the other thing, and then add some reverb, that. But I'm just saying, just to get a decent mix, just let's say a church mix, Richie, because you know what I'm talking about. You got to get a church mix. A church mix is usually a little bit harder because you got sometimes a lot of people who aren't professionals, but you know what I'm saying. So you want to just get a decent mix. Once you get that vocal clean, clear, under control, isn't that like a deodorant saying?
Yeah.
The degree. Is that what it is? Once you get that there, then you're just filling it in, right? And then once you fill it in, and now you're hearing everything, I think the next part is, can you feel it? You want to feel it the right way, right? So then you work on your kick drum and your bass guitar, and maybe some lows on the pianos. You get the feeling on. That's why when we're mixing these heavy bands, I like to use the heavy bands, because the heavy bands is a different art to that, right? So you're mixing a louder rock type band. You get your kick, maybe your tracks, your bass, but then you go up to the guitars, right? And a lot of those guitars, Justin's gonna kill me for this one, but a lot of those guitars have that that chunk to it, dun, 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 dun. You don't want that in your mix, even though I love it, but you don't want that in your mix, because that's gonna muddy up your low end. And again, subwoofer can only output, the speaker vibrates, right? It vibrates like this. So if you have all these competing things, you know what I mean? You're not going to get clear waves coming out and clear sound. You're going to get mud, So I think part of the best thing you can take away is everybody should be personally responsible to know what their sound needs to be to fit in their band, and then purchase the tools to do that. And usually it's just a microphone, or, just a pedal, whatever, I don't, whatever that is. But especially the keyboard players are the worst, right? If they, so you can be the best piano, whatever player, and now you join a band, you want to play keyboard. If you don't have nice patches worked out, it's going to ruin the whole thing. You know what I mean? And because the keyboard's always a direct instrument, it's hot. It's it's hard to smooth out sometimes, but to get a really clean sound, you have to find a way to fit in your band. Guitars, same thing. You have two guitar players. If both those guitar players are playing the same thing in the same chord range, where's James Barrett? Did he show up today? He has 19 guitar players in his band, and they all play in the same frequency range. He tells me they don't, but they do. And then he sings in a lower register. Oh, you're gonna hear this, James? James, you don't need so many guitar players in your band. I love you so much. Okay, I know. But it's hard to mix those kind of things. Yeah, great sounding band, great sounding songs, great sounding everything, but when you're mixing it, it's it's hard to discern the vocals from the guitar parts, How do you do?
Great.
It's okay.
Yeah.